Saying something?
Sister son got engaged today.
Oh, Mazel tov.
Parents come out and what down.
Who?
Church.
Who? Okay.
My sister
Okay.
son.
Today, in this loaded passion, Behaaloscha, Shlach, Koidach, until the end of all the next 4 or 5 weeks is very loaded parashas. One of the stories in the parasha Behaaloscha is a discussion between is a discussion about Miriam, where she complains about Moshe Rabbeinu, and she chapped up sack at the end. It's the end of the parasha. There's a lot in the parasha about Nevi'us. There's about the Eibusha says Esfali Shiva Mishma Zikneom, that they'll become Nevi'im. There's a story of Eldad Umeidad that became Nevi'im. But finally, there's the whole parsha of Nevuah is at the end of Behaaloscha. But the Dabba Miriam and she said that Ak b'Moshe diber Hashem, Perloi Gambonu diber Hashem. Vayishma Hashem. Plus it says Vayishma Moshe Anamoid B'chol Adam Asher Al Pnei Adama. And then the Gechat Tapsak, David said Tzu Shlosh. And the Eibishter said, Shimon Odavorim, Yeh Nevi'achem Hashem V'mare Ela V'tzvada B'chlom Adaber Boy. Loi Kein Avdi Moshe B'chol Beisi Nemen Hu Pepe Adaber Boy, Umara V'loi V'chidus, Smunas Hashem Yabit, Uma'adua Lo Yereisim L'dabi V'avdi V'Moshe. And then the Gechabta Apsak, she had Tzaras. Okay. So, I mean, this is like very loaded. The Eibush himself is telling us the difference between the Nevuah Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Shalom and the Nevuah of all the Nevi'im. The Rambam talks about it in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, and there's a Geschmack Sicha from the Rebbe, a Shvu Sicha on this. Okay, so Yom Kotzar Malach Meruba. Let's read it fast. Again, there's 2 Gemaras, one in the Dorim and one in Shabbos. The Gemara in the Dorim, I just quote the mamish, the few words that are Negeya. The Gemara is an Arichis. Amr B'Yercha Ena Kadosh Baruch Hu Masher Shchinose Ela Al Giber VeOsher VeChacham VeOnof VeKulam Moshe. And why we know he's a Giber that he put up the Mishkan when he was an Osher, Sultan Shaluchas, and it was a Chacham, he was an Onav. Because the Torah is made Veish Moshe Onav Miyoid. Okay. Which, by the way, from this week's Pasha, the Rebbe says the Raya from Onav is the strongest. Because in the Pasha, it's Mashma, when the Eibishter gave Musar, the first thing the Eibishter said is V'isha Moshe Onav Me'oid. And then, after the Torah says, then, Vayomer Hashem, and after they came out, Vayomer Shimon Odvorim Yina the Vichem Hashem, on and on to say. So the Pashtup Pshat of what's the Hemshech is not oh, don't worry, Moshe Rabbeinu is really a big honor. He doesn't care, but the Rebbe Shalom cares. No. So why was Moshe Rabbeinu zoichet to such a darga v'nevuah? Because it was an honor of miyot. Okay. The other Gemara is Shabbos. Gemara Shabbos. Damar Mar in Shechina Shoda Elo Al Chacham. Okay, Chacham is the same as the Gemara said before. Elamai, all of a sudden, requirement from Chacham came from 3rd place to 1st place. Giber ve'ashir hubal koin. So there's to be a tall man. Moshe Rabbeinu was very tall. Got to be a very tall man. So the difference in the 2 Gemaras is that one Gemara has Onav and the other one Bal Koima, and the other is the Seder in Yonah. Okay, let's go in the Rambam. The Rambam Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah. Mi Yesodei Hadas Leida Shekel Vanabas Bnei Adam Ve'ein HaNevuah Chola Ela Al Chochem Godel B'Chochem. He has to be the requirement of Nevuah is to be a Chochem God. Also, Gibur b'Midoisa. 2 requirements. If you want to be a Navi, there's 2 requirements. Number 1, to be a Chochem Godel, and number 2, And number two, to be a gibber. The hemshech advarim is just a lechoira pirush. He said first there has to be a chochem gadol and a gibber b'medoisav. So he explains. He explains what does it mean gibber b'medoisav? Like it's a mizgaber alav. The mizgaber b'daitel yitzir tamid. Now what does it mean chochem gadol? Is bal deir echov nechoyne ad miyoid. Adam shehu memula b'chol amidas eilu shalom agufay. Shekonav la pardes. The moshech boitzim in yonam agdolim arachoyke b'yoloi dei nechoyne lahavin alahasik. V'miskadeshe v'hoylech u'poirish medarke klal ha'om ha'hilchem machshak esman. He goes in, he's nimshir to pardes, to the place of chochem. And he's also poirish mechalom. V'hoylech mazar zatzmo malav nafshe shalei loy machshava klal be'echem nadvorim b'teilem. You know dvorim b'teilem. V'loy v'lahavle azman v'sach b'loyse. And l'daito knui yotomid l'mayla pshura tachas ising. L'hovim b'loyse atzuris ha'kadosh es ha'tahoyres. And l'stakel v'chachmose shel ha'kadosh baruch hu kulam mitzuri rishon ha'tabor ha'oretz. V'yedem hem godlen. Yad ruach ha'kodesh shoyre v'lov. V'beishet tenuach ha'lov v'ruach. So this Arav nafshe b'mayla samalochim and ikroim ishi. V'yofech ish achi. V'yovim b'daite she'ena k'may shahoya. Ela shenisal al mal shor b'nei odom ha'chachomim. V'shenema b'show v'isna beisa yimov v'napachtel ish achi. The Rambam in Perek Lamed Beis in the Moed Nevuchim, he says there's three machshavas in Nevuah. He says the Amoin Am, who are Ameoritz, they think that Shayach to be a Novi Kemoy Achamoid, you know, that a guy could be a Nivar Midas, and he's a Chamoid and he has Nevuah. The Rambam says that's Narishkeit. Then he says there is the Chachmei Philosophin. They say if just like naturally, if you eat healthy foods, you'll be healthy. So if you are spiritual, you'll be a Navi. And the Rambam says the third shita is the Torah shita. You have to be very spiritual, but the Eibishter will decide if you'll be a Navi or not. Okay. Let's continue. Aloha Beis. I'm Navim. Why am I mentioning this? For a few reasons, but one is that over here it sounds kilu that it's kilu, it happens automatically. As he says miyad ruach hakodesh shoyrelo. So b'pashtus it means, in Mefoshim ask, b'pashtus it means unless the Eibusher decides otherwise, because it has to be that it's shoyrelo melamaylo. Okay, and if you milas hey. It's not stam. You're in the club, you're out the club. If you're a member of the club, you're a member of the club. You're not, you're not. No, it doesn't work that way. Of וכולם שמסנם ממרם נזדעזם וכך הגוף kosher. L'shtenasem mistorfus. When they say nevuah, they're trembling, and the whole goof becomes weak, and all the eshtoinus becomes meturif. They go crazy. Their physical power becomes weak, and their physical being falls apart. With the shoed hadas pnuya lahavim ashatira. Masheneba Avram hine ema chasheich gedoylo nefel salov. Masheneba bedaniel hoidi nepach alay lamashchiz v'lo yatzar tikoy. It's not stam that they're going crazy and falling apart. It's a chelik of tishoed hadas pnuya lahavim ma ashatira. In order, it's like the Zoya says, tukfa the gufa schulcha the nishmachsa. The guy has a strong goof, has a weak neshama. If he has a strong neshama, he has a weak goof. One thing is you have to be cool. Oh, exactly. But that's as he goes into it. Kesef Mishnah Zakazoi. Venom will call the Perikal Nedorim, Amr Bionis, in a Kuchbar Kamash Shanas Ella Al Chochem, Yibur the Osher. So what's going on? How come that Rambam only brings 2 out of the 4 requirements? The Gemara says that in order to be a Navi, you have to have 4 requirements. Gibur, Asher, Chacham, Anav. You see the top line? You need 4 things. Why is it Rambam say only 2 things? You see that Kesef Mishnah, by the way, had a Girs and Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan. Okay, it's almost the same thing. Maybe he says Gibber means Gibber b'midois. Maybe he says that Rambam, when he said Gibber, he didn't mean a strong, like physically strong. In the Gemara, it's mashma physically strong. אלא ששם משהו מגמר, דגיבר גפשוטה, שבal koyach, לכן או שגפשוטה, שלמה מהרבה. כך נראה דרבינו סברה דנפשי כמה, ולא מה דרבי יונס. כמה כאן צריך לראות, למה לא יקוסר שיהיה גיבר בכויח ואושר ויונב, כהוד דרבי יונס. He's not quoting Rabbi Yonasan. It's Svara Denafshay. Okay, nice. But why are you not quoting Rabbi Yonasan? It's a Gemara. Yeshloim Basharosh Pirish, Hod Rabbi Yonasan, and Kadosh Baruch Hu Mash, Shechinosa, the Kvius. Mash from the Dvorim, the Shaloi Bekvius, Efsha Shisnab, Af Bishaloi Bekolam Midasalolu. Rabbeinu Loi Nochas Och Lafarish El Tnai Anovi, Lisnab, Bezafil Shaloi Bekvius. The Rosh, the Nedorim, the Pirish Rosh. The Rosh says that in order to, the pshat is that in order for, it depends. Yeah, in order to be full-time Navi, you need to have the 4 requirements. Temporary, then you don't need all 4. The Rebbe says it's very big pillow. 2 shilas, main shilas. One is, it's very funny. Temporary to be a Navi, you have to be a Chochem and a Giba. You have to be Mizgabrel and Yitzre, and you have to learn a lot of Torah. You want to be the Kviyus Navi? You got to go to the gym and become a rich man. I don't know. If you say the other way around, but if you have rich, if you're rich, you could buy in the Vias, but only a one-time deal. It's only a one-shot deal. But if you're mamish, you want to have for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you also have to be a Chochem, Mizgaber, and Yitzhak. It's the other way around. They have a one-time levu. You have to be a Chochem, Mizgaber, and Yemidus. If you want to have it full-time, the Kviyus, then you also have to be rich and have money. And also have to be a giver. Funny.
You're rich by anything you want.
You can have another. You can buy Chochem too. Okay. So that's one thing. And the other thing that Rebbe says is that Rambam Lachid is talking about the Nevi'im that are Kavua, like Moshe Rabbeinu, Yeshaya, Yirmiyah. He's talking about the Nevi'im Kavuim. He's not talking just about the emphasis that Rebbe says the Shaila is what does it mean Kavua, not Kavua? You could say Kavua means a regular Navi. Not Kavua means one time in a life. Huh? Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, very good. So you could say, and you could say that Kviyus means, no, Kviyus means mamish, like Moshe Rabbeinu, that he couldn't be married to a woman anymore. But it's not mashma that way, especially in the modern Nebuchim, where he says that that you shouldn't think that in order to be a Navi, it says, Lo yotochet shisnaba ela kefshori shisnaba chamoyim, if it's a one-time thing. It doesn't sound like Kviyus. Okay. That's the one. Okay, let's go to the next shot. Before we go to the next shot, let's read another 2 pieces. Lechem Mishnah Zvar Vein Nebu Cholal Chochem Giber B'Chochem Yeshtema Al Rabbeinu Lomal Yiske Giber B'Koyach B'Ocher B'Yonav Lisa Perik Dal Denadorim. The Gemara says 4 requirements. Why did Rambam bring only 2 out of the 4? Avodah Mer Perik Matzniya Shem Shernel Al Chochem Giber Osher B'Altoyma V'Yiske Mekol Rabbeinu. Now they see us across the Israel like a Rosh, hits like Kach and the Gemara, Kadesh, and the Shishkin of Ekviz. The Lamash will give the Rabbein of a Sefer Meir in the Bukhim. It's not mashma that way in Meir in the Bukhim. The Shom Kosav, who Amr, Mein and Avu Shere, El Al Chofim, Gibber Beyosher. And the Gam, the Sug, the Perika Matzniya, the Sug, the Dorim Koshik Tzas, Lamla Usker, the Sugya and the Skeres, Atanaim, Shehusker, the Sugya Acheres. He's asking the stira between the Gemara Nedorim and the Gemara Shabbos. Over here there is 4 requirements. Here there's 4 requirements, but there's a little different. In the Dorim, the number 4 is Onov, and in the Shabbos, number 4 is Balkoima. Okay, let's look at the Meiser. Keach in the Volchala, Kosav Maron, Zal, Svil Rabbeinu Karosh, the Peter Shid, the Rebbeinu, and Kodesh Baruch Masha, Chanosai, that it's Lema Bekvius. Yesh Adakti, the Rebbe Rosh, Zal, Micah Mash Malon, Reb Yercha, the Afche, Tochem, and Tzir, Bechola Parot, Malon, Makomo, Kamiev, Shalom, Shpishin of Shin, and the Kvis, and the Tzenet of Azeh. Rabbi Rabbi Shalvim, he doesn't like the Pshat. Let's stop for a second. There's a Tolner Rebbe, B'nai Brak, used to give for many years, every Gimel Tamas, he used to give a talk in the Heichel Menachem. We call it Gimel Tamas. One year he told a beautiful story. He said that the Pnei Menachem, get a Rebbe, so someone asked him why he was so what's the halt from the Lubavitcher Rebbe? Does he really think that Lubavitcher Rebbe has a Ruach HaKodesh? So he said, yeah, I think someone doesn't believe that Zap Curtis said, I'll tell you a story. Rabbi Yerucham Lubavitz, Rabbi Yerucham was a yeshiva, was a Größen the previous generation. And there was a place in Europe where a lot of Choshev Yidden went for healing. And he met Imre Emes, and they started to talk. And he was only the Godish, Imre Emes, and he was shocked to see the godless in his Torah and his godless in his personality. When he came back to Yeshiva, he spoke about the Imre Emes. So someone said, it almost sounds like you're a Gereh Chosed. Do you really believe that Gereh Rebbe has the Ruach HaKodesh? So he said, let me tell you, the Gemara says that there are 12 steps. Several, there's a Braisa that's brought at the end of this Masechta, that Masechta, that this brings to this, and this brings to this, and the Kiyas brings it to Tahara brings it Kedusha, and then that brings the Ruach HaKodesh. So it's like, no, it's a Braisa Gemara.
So it's strong like quotes and
Yeah, it's quoted all the time, and there's a Gis issue over there. So he said that I saw the Gereh Rebbe had the first 11 from the 12. The Ruach HaKodesh said, I don't know, but if he had the first 11, he probably had the 12th. So Shaila is, at which point, from these requirements, at which point does he a Novi? So there's another Pshat. The Pshat is brought, and look at the last piece, Sefer Arboa Turei Ovid. He says like this. Kosol Ataret. The Rambam Mechich Megemor the Matzin and the Shechina Shoyr Afil al Oni Godel. Chemetzin Megemor the Shechina Shoyr Afil Chena Bal Koimim. You can't eat Chemem and the Rebbeinu and all Bahálotcha. The Yisa b'Mesechus Sanhedrin Pam Achal so Imasumim Bali v'Yavna. And Nos Aleim Koil Baskal Mashamayim. Omer Yesh Kan Echet Shelo Shetishel of Shechina. Nos Chom Eneim b'Shmuel HaKodim. Shuv Pam Achal Zot Eneim b'Hillel HaZokin. The Gemara says two stories. There was a baskel that said that someone should be a Navi, and the question is if the generation is worthy. And the first time the Chacham said it was Shmuel HaKot, and the second time they said it was Hillel HaZokin. So he says, I don't understand. Nimtza Shashchina Shoyre Al Oni Yisa Mesachas Yuma Hillel Hoya Oni Godel. Gemara describes the Aniyus of Hillel. It's moidedik, right? Hillel, he couldn't be poorer than Hillel. The Gemara says, in the world to come, when someone goes to Bezdin Shalmaila and they say, why didn't you learn Torah? He said, I was poor, I couldn't afford it. So they say, you couldn't be worse off than Hillel. And Hillel learned. And if someone's rich, they say, why did you learn? I was too busy. So they say, you couldn't have been richer than Ebelezer Acharson. And he learned, so you could learn. So we see that Hillel was only Godel, and he was Roid Lenabur. The Baskal all of Niskav Nashirosh Tirish Roshlina. Oh, only Godel, Levenish Shere Ella Al Osher. The Chuz Zuchazin and Nosa named Shmuel HaKotan. Yev Shesh Enish Klina Shere Ella Al Balkoima. Vakotan Noya. He was cotton. Hey, name is Isa Betoisis Yomte, Vedic Dal, Mesachas of this mission you test. Tam the man that Shmuel HaKotan never became. Apshat HaPoshet Shoyu Kot. This Meforshim that say he wasn't really a midget. The Poshet Pshat Shmuel HaKotan is not that he had the name Katan, because it can't be. Then he would be a Sfadi. How could you say that? So, it's a Sfardi name, B'dach Klal. Katan. I had my class, a good friend, Ari Katan. We grew up together. Still walk home from Cheder. So, I go, what do you mean, cotton? He was small? So the Testament says, no. He's honored. But the Poshup Shat, he was called Cotton because he was a little guy. So we see a Gemara that Hillel was very poor, and Shmuel Cotton he was a midget, and still they was Eicha for Nevuah. They were supposed to have Nevuah. The generation didn't allow it. Masharama Mo Hiskir Onav Efshe Shegirsose Begemara Kigirs Sarach Sheini Goyrisa. The bottom line is, he says that there's different story in the Gemara. There's a story in the Gemara about Shmuel, who was a midget, and he was supposed to be a Navi, and Hillel Hillel was very poor. That's his teretz. That's why the Rambam holds that this Gemara is nitche mahaloch. This Gemara is nitche mahaloch. The Rebbe says it's very, very shver kasha. What do you mean? We're talking about Hillel. When was Hillel poor? You think his whole life he was poor? Before he became famous, he was poor. You think after he became the Nasi of Klal Yisrael, they let him stay poor? You think the Jews let him, he should never stay a poor man? Is it nice to say that Klal Yisrael allowed that the Nasi Yisrael should be a Oni Be'evian? No. He became Ois Oni. He was not an Oni anymore. He was an Osher. And Shmuel HaKotan, like the Tosis Yom Tov says, why can't you say like Tosis Yom Tov? Say like the Tosis Yom Tov. Kotan doesn't mean that he was a little guy. He was, there was a Choshev over here in Borough Party, the Menashe Klein. Yeah. Oh, wow. Nabach, he went through a lot to show you, and he was a very Choshev of. Yes, every time I go to Tzfas and I go to Darizal, I end up his cave, his mama, he has Zoicha to get a very good spot. I don't know how he climbed in there. He kricht over there, right? Where they see Yosef and Darizal, like Tamish over there. Not far. Every time I end up going, I see his thing. Okay, so what kind of bracha did he give you?
I don't know. My father just told me that a few weeks ago.
Okay.
The client was in Mexico, the call he was in, he gave a Behaaloscha. Sure, let's see this starting off when the I was there. I don't remember anything.
Oh, very nice. He used to sign Shmuel HaKotan. I'm sorry, Menashe HaKotan. But that was a trick, because his name was Klein. His name was Klein. And you know what Klein means? What does Klein mean? What's mine Klein? What's mine Gross?
Big. Gross is big.
Gross is big. And what's a Klein? Small. So because his name was Klein, small. Klein means small, yeah. Gross is big, Klein is small. So he used to sign his name Menashe HaKotan because his name was Klein. It's a good one, huh? Otherwise, it's like haughty for a person to write we would write Reuven the humble man, But he wrote Menashe HaKotan, that was his name. His name was Rabbi Menashe Klein. Anyway, so the Rebbe says, what kind of funny thing is, it's not an eye against the Rambam. But wow, the honor is bleibt akasha. According to the Girs and Argemar, it says the honor. So and honor was a very important thing, as we see from this week's parsha. Right when when Miriam talks lashon hara about her brother, the first thing the pasuk says is that Ishma she'anam ma'od. And why did pasuk say to tell us how big of a Navi he is. It had to do with his anibus. Okay, the Rebbe suggests another two pshatim also. So there's again, so we slugged up the pshat from the Kesef Mishnah and slugged up the pshat of the Turei Oven. The Rebbe gives also another two pshatim that he slugs up. The Rebbe says maybe Onav is part of Gibur v'Medoisa, and Gibur is part of Shalom Begufay. Why can't the Rambam say it befedish? It's a little bit of a doichik to say such a thing. And who says Shalom Begufay means Gibur? Shalom Begufay means Shalom Begufay. There's a Gibur. There is Chosa Begufay, the Shalom Begufay, and there's a Gibur. It's not some little doichik the Rebbe says. Another pshat that Rebbe says also he thinks is a doichik. Maybe you could say that the Rambam is giving you a manual how to become a Navi. How are you supposed to become rich? You know how to become rich? You know how to become rich. So the Rambam is only telling you what to do, what you could do. Can't learn in Torah, can't misgabas on Yitzhahara, Osher, Gibur. That comes from the Eibishter. What? You should go to the gym, that's how you become a Gibur. The Rebbe says a phony pshat. I can question if you want, but the emphasis, like the Rambam says, Bal Deir Rechov and Achoyna Ad Me'oid. It sounds like also Chochma. It doesn't mean Seichel Anikna. It sounds like he's talking about someone who is like an Isha Sholov, Isha Shkoilus, who's born that way. It's a Sefer Halochas Halochas. Shkin Kasha. There's a whole Sefer which avoided, which is the Koinim. Am I a coin? No. Are you a coin? No. So what? Okay, but we want to know what the coin needs to know. It's a Chelik in Torah. So even if me and you are not Mesugul to be a Navi, it doesn't mean that it's not from Yesoidei HaTorah. So it's a shver pshat to say the Chochem and Gibur, me and you could be a Chochem and we could be a Gibur. To be Mesgaber al Yitzra. But Shirus is from the Eivish. If you want to emphasize, it's a Doichik pshat. So the Rebbe, so basically we had two pshatim from the Meforshim the Rebbe shlogged up, and two his own pshatim he shlogged up, and now let's go to the Kitzah to the Rebbe's pshat. And it's a beautiful pshat, as a shaint in the Werte from the Rambam. It's not stam, it's a shaint in the Werte from the Rambam. It's a shaint in the Werte from the Rambam. The Rebbe says, before we go to the Rebbe's teretz, the a lot of the Gedolei Yisrael had a big problem with the Rambam. The Rambam had the Gimel. The Rambam writes in the Sanhedrin, there's 13 Ikrei Amuna, 13 Ikrei Amuna, and Ikr 5 is that basically 1 to 5 is there's an Eibishter. There's an Eibishter. 6 that is Nevuah. 7, 8 is Torah min Hashemayim. The Sefer Hikrim, the Yosef Alba says, you're so fadreit. He says, B'chlal, that there's a Nevuah. Who cares if there is Nevuah, there's not Nevuah? Who cares? And anyway, if there's Nevuah, it's only a detail in Torah. It's only a detail in the Torah. You have to listen to the Navi. The Navi tells you what to do. The truth is that Rambam himself writes in the end of Yesod Torah, Lama Nema B'Torah Navi Okim Lachem Ekerev Achayim Kamoicha Loi Lasses Dasu Ba Ela Letzavas Al Dibra Torah Lahazer Om Shelo Yavru Aleh Kamoicha Omer Achman Shebehem Zichru Torah Smoisha Avdi. Oh, by the way, he'll tell Shaul where the assignments is. He'll tell you where to go, to do Melchama, not to do whatever. But the main thing of Nevius is to tell the Yidden to keep the Torah. So how can it be? First of all, the Rebbe Yosef Alba says, why are you making it to Ikir? It's not an Ikir. The Mikir is Torah min Hashemayim. And a detail, a footnote is that the Navi tells you to Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi. And B'chlal, how could you make it Moshe Kapoyer the other way around? And then it's a B'chlal, what's going on? It's anyway, it's a mitzvah say. It's a mitzvah say Eluf Tishmo. So why are you telling me it's a Yisoid? The Rebbe says it's Azach Chidush, it's a shaint in the Werte from the Rambam. This is, if you read after what the Rebbe said, every time you're going to learn this Rambam, you're going to see the Rebbe's Chidush in the words of the Rambam. There is a Yisoid in a Yisoid before even Torah min Hashemayim. There's a Yisoid in Judaism that the Yisoid Adas Leida, just like it's Yisoid is Va'amuda Chochma Leida She'esh HaChotzonitzun Leida Shakel Menabes Bnei Od. There has to be, a Yid has to believe that there's such a thing of Ashros Ashchina, that a human being is capable of communicating with the Eibishter. A person could believe there's a Rebbeinu Shalom. He created heaven and earth. Everything. But human being is small. The Eibishter is big. So how can you tell me? So that the Eibishter communicates with human beings. So therefore it's a Yesoid. It's a Yesoid. After the first five Yesoid in the Yud Gimel Nikrim Amuna, there's a Yesoid Hava, is a big Yesoid. Leda to know that it's not true. The Eibishter communicates with human beings. Okay. And that's Bechlal. But the Rambam holds that it's not just Bechlal. You have to believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom communicates with human beings. Here. It's not just enough that you know that Rebbeinu Shalom communicates with human beings. What's the pshat of this communication? The pshat of this communication is that it's shaykh that a human being, all his gashmias falls apart, and his das is nothing but a vessel to take in das Hashem. Like he said in Halacha Beis, if it ain't is das in koyach guf kosher l'shtenasei the starfus v'teshor hadas penuya lohovin mashatira. It's such a unbelievable isachtus of the Boyer and the Nivra that the Eibishter is misrached that like the Navi, the words of the Navi is, the Navi said, the Ruach Hashem diber bi umilosoi al l'shoini. That's in Shmuel. Ruach Hashem diber bi umilosi al l'shoini. That the words rolling off my tongue is not me, it's the Eibishter. So it's not just a general thing that it's a foundation to know that the Eibishter communicates with a human being, but we have to understand what that the Navi is nothing but a vessel to understand Eibishter. And as a chelik of that is to understand that a chelik of Navius is that he's a Chochem Godel and he's Mizgaber al Yitzrim. That's a chelik of that perfect keli of a human being, which takes in the Eibishter in him. And that's a chelik of the Rambam says, Misoide hadas leida. This is a Yesoid to know. Not necessarily me and you could become a Navi. Maybe me and you are not capable. The Rambam says later that there were big tzaddikim that thought that they're capable of becoming Navim, and they used to put on white clothing, and they used to play instruments and sing songs, because Navu is only Shoyrim et Simcha, but that was the tail end. But these were people that they knew already, that the Chachamim Gedolim, they already had a lot of milas in them. The Rambam is not giving you a manual how to become a Navi here. It's not Nageya. That's not what Nageya is. It's a Yesoid to know that the Eibishter communicates with human beings. And this communication is not stam. It's a communication like a chamoy who sees something. That their be'emes, their das is memula with alakus. And it's a fusion. It's an unbelievable thing. That the Eibishter is infused in the Navi. And as a chelik from that, we have to understand that we're talking about that it's an unbelievable connection, because it's a person whose das is rechava, and a person who's misgaber al yitzroi, and he therefore could take in, he's a kli that really could take in kedusha to its fullest, and that's a yisoid in Judaism. Now, there's also a good thing. There's also the Gemara says that he should be rich, he should be strong. Why? Because if he's strong, he'll be dvarim l'shmoyim. If he's rich, he'll be dvarim l'shmoyim. That's a small detail. It's good. It's good for the Jewish people that their leaders will be tall and strong and handsome and rich. Yeah, gewaldig. Every Jewish mother wants her son to be rich, tall, handsome, dark, handsome. So that's very good, and maybe should be a nozer too with a big lock of hairs. So what a trade! Exactly. But that's good. That's icing on the cake. But that's negeya for the Navi. That's a mila for the Navi. In order for the Navi to have that his bottom should be niskabel, or maybe the Rebbe says on another way you could say like the Rambam says, that what is the Eibishter gives, when it's not the Geshmeichem Eaten, I'll give you Gashmias. So the Rambam says, we've learned about it recently, that the point is not that's the reward. The reward is that they each be able to learn Torah and Mekayim mitzvahs. But in order to give tzedakah, you need to have money in your pockets. It's just not put money in your pocket. In order to learn Torah, you have to have a clear head and not have a headache and not be sick. Chas v'shalom. So David says, "I'll take away all the Tvorim Hamoinim, and I'll pave the way." Same thing here. You could say if a person who is a Baal Koiman, he's a Gibur, and he's a Ochir, it takes all the difficulties of becoming a Chochem and Misgaber al Yitzroi is taken away, because it's not so hard to be Misgaber al Yitzroi when you're physically fit and you're tall and you're strong and you're rich. Although you could say that it's person can be Misgaber even without being so rich and so strong. But you could say such a pshat. But that's a zaytik azach. It's not a chelik in what it makes. So the question is, why does the Navi have to be tall, and why does he have to be handsome, and why does he have to be rich? You could say one pshat, this way people will listen to him, or you could say another pshat, this way he could operate better. The Rebbe used to love to tell a story. And this story about the Tzemach Tzedek. That the Tzemach Tzedek once was trying to learn a sugya and he couldn't. So he told the Bnei Bayis that there's a story with the Rabbeinu Tam. The Rabbeinu Tam was learning a sugya, this is nicht gegangen. Couldn't. So he asked the Bnei Bayis to bring him a big bowl full of gold coins. And they put it in front of him on the table. And he went like this. And all of a sudden, his head opened up. And he understood everything. As the Maisa, now you know when you're trying to learn the Rambam, you're listening to Rabbi Gordon and the Versteifnish.
I'll take my ball.
The $100 bills and start going azoi.
The gold coin.
The gold coins, yeah. Start going azoi. And all of a sudden, his head opens up.
Shot.
Push the shot. A person is feels, there's a certain feeling. I don't know. I never have sat with a gold coins. Shot.
I mean, the whole shot, right?
But the Rebbe told the story 3 times. This the Rebbe told the story in the name of the Tzemach Tzedek, who sang the Rebbe in a town. This is not a joke. This is a no. The Rebbe didn't say it's the school law. That it's teva.
Grounds you what?
No, it gives you a certain It gives the Gemara says kol hayikum asher be'ragleim elu mamoino shel odem shemamida raglav. The person financially, when he's doing well, he's standing on 2 feet well. But Fas Shalom, person who's struggling, even if he knows how to handle it, but there's a certain it's crippling. So the Rabbeinu Tam was the other way around. In order for him to understand the sugya well, when he sat there with a bowl of money, they say that Rabbeinu Tam was made a lot of money from doing loans. That did evidence say. But there is the Welt sagt,
You think about dollars? From you. They were selling all these films. They were selling all these films.
You're selling his film.
Oh,
He had a copyright. He had a copyright in his film.
A whole movement. Look today.
So anyway, you could learn it one way or the other way. You could learn it in one of 10 ways. Why is it that a Navi has to be tall and handsome and rich and strong? However you learn it, that's not a yesoid in understanding nevuah. That's for the Navi. Nice. So when the Navi is going to have to know what he needs to do, he'll open the Gemara. That's not negay, and the Rambam is a sefer halachas. The Rambam is writing as a halacha. That there's a yesoid to know that the Eibishter communicates with the human being, and that is a very intense communication. That's why in the Rambam, in the Moed Nevuchim, he says that the fools believe that a dumbbell could be a Navi. Also, the thing. When we were little kids, you always think that the guy who's the most meshuga off the wall that guy who everyone thinks is maybe, Loy Bedora Duna, that he's one of the Lama Dvav Tzadikim Nestorim. So what's so bad to think that because then you miss the point of what Nevuah is. Nevuah is not just like a fluke that there's, that someone knows some unbelievable information can see through the wall. The hocus pocus. The Indian of Nevuah is that the Eibishter communicates with human beings. And a chelik of that belief is that it's not just, it's a very deep connection that the Navi, before he gets to Nevuah, is a Chacham Godel, and Gibor v'medoisav shemes gaber al Yitzrei Talmid, and therefore, when the Eibishter talks to him, it like, his whole Gashmi falls apart, and there's nothing but him and the Eibishter who fuse together. And that's a Yisoid, not because Eiluf Tishmo. There's a separate mitzvah. You have to listen to the Navi. There's nothing to do with listening to the Navi or not. If I'm on an island, there's no Navi. I still have to believe, according to the Rambam, in the 13 principles of faith. But there's no Navi here on this island. Machnash. This is a Nekuda in Yiddishkeit. This is a foundation in Judaism. Leida Shakel Menabas B'nai Adam. And not only Leida, a general thing that the Eibush communicates, that the Eibush communicates in a way that it gets fused into the character and the brain of the Navi. Therefore, these are the things that Rambam quotes. The other things that the Gemara says that Rambam is not quoting, it's not Negeya. That's icing on the cake. It's not so important. Okay, that's the Nekuda that Rebbe's Biyur. I think it's Merafsa Negra, but it's a shine. First of all, it answers the question that all the questions that I ask against the Rambam. Why is it such a big principle in faith? Why is it before Nevuah Min Hashemayim? There's anyway a mitzvah Eiluf Tishmon, because this answers all the questions. There's a separate thing that there's a mitzvah Eiluf Tishmon. Here is a separate thing. It's not about the Zichru Toras Moshe Avdi. This is a principle that it's a very important. Why is it an important principle? I just want to move it a little bit beyond what the Rebbe is saying, because that beliefs, we believe in ourselves. We believe, so maybe not me and you are thinking that tomorrow we're going to be a Navi. We're going to put on those white gowns. We're going to start playing a little bit of music, and Madu Abba Meshuga Azeh, we start looking a little Meshuga, and Mitnamal, we're Navi.
The man with the white stuff start Navi.
It looks good.
I used to work in a mental home. We had a couple of years.
I'm feeling it, yeah.
Yeah, they prophesized. They thought they prophesized.
Like they say in the nursing home in the Labach in this place. So someone said he's Mashiach.
Yeah.
So there's a Mashiach shekel. So how do you know? It's under Mashiach Edis. Those are. The pshat is.
Were they tall, dark, and handsome?
Huh?
Were they tall, dark, and handsome? Some of them, yeah.
The pshat is that really it's believing in ourselves, it's believing that a yid could work in avodas Hashem and really could arrive to a place where mamish kedusha and him are infused. That there's emes, that it's a real thing. That the Eibusher communicates with human beings in a way that is Achdus Gomer, which is an unbelievable thing. And that's why it's an unbelievable Yisoid. We have a minion? Okay. There's a little more in the Sichos, but we'll continue. Today is the last day of the days that we're on Mount Sinai. So David shall help us that we should all be zoiche, even if we're not at that darga. That the fact that we know that this is a yisoid in the Yiddishkeit, that akel menabas b'nei adam, that we believe that we could daven and that we could learn in a way that kedusha is actually infused in us. We should be matzliach in that.
They said a mimer had no idea what they said.
Oh, man. Good to be back.
Couldn't say back to them.
Right. Mama Chazon. Elamai, because Milose Elushani. Okay, Yeshua for joining us.